Hey, what's up, guys? This is Drew from Drew Story News. Yes, it's been a minute, so I wanted to jump on here and just go through a whole list of topics that, I didn't get the chance to talk about. Also have some music projects that I'm working on right now, so I won't be posting content as much for the next few weeks, but I am on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter every day, posting and commenting. So for those of you who don't know, you can always catch me there. I am on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter every day. So let's jump into some of the topics, because we got a bunch of them. Some of you hit me up privately because, rightfully so, a lot of you guys don't trust what they're telling you on TV, because a lot of it is lies. And that's the unfortunate thing about the times now. We have become just like the Asian countries, China, North and South Korea, where our media and what they're telling us and the censorship, we have become that. It is that bad. And half of the things that they tell you on television now, you have to scratch your head and like, is that true? Is that nonsense? Like, you have to ask those questions now, because that's where things are. So let's talk about some of the things that I didn't get to talk about that some of you had on your mind or may have mentioned. Let's go all the way back to the Super Bowl. Lots of stuff and lots of symbolism as expected in the Super Bowl. For those of you who know anything about that stuff, most people don't. I understand that. But yeah, there's a lot of symbolism and occult things going on, as expected. But let's talk about, Biden got booed. And I have a lot of people in my life who, God bless them, don't quite understand anything going on today, or the real story behind things that you're not going to hear on the news. And, these are the people some of these people voted for Biden, and they don't understand like where this is coming from. Like, what happened? Well, newsflash. Biden is not the most popular president of all time, even though his very dubious and historical win into office would suggest that. He broke all these voting records and won in such a historical, unprecedented fashion. And he did this really without a base. Very few people voted for Joe Biden because of Joe Biden. Joe Biden, most of his support was mostly people voting Trump out. Biden never really had a base. The Biden-Harris ticket was pretty much your typical, they are the problem. They are the establishment, typical establishment, career opportunist politicians that talk out of both sides of their face. Not very popular. So folks on the Democrat side of the fence were just so excited to get Trump out. But most of the country is not with Joe Biden. And people are starting to understand that. Like, we don't like this guy. We don't like anything he's doing. He's an establishment inside politician. He already started bombing Syria, which is what they were trying to do. He invested a lot of time in legislation toward the trans community, and no disrespect to the trans community, but Biden said from jump that LGBTQ is his number one priority, and he just came in like a roaring lion and started doing all these things for the trans community that were controversial. And they weren't really things that were very necessary. And the mystifying thing here is, who said that was the number one human rights issue that we need to contend with? No one did. Reality didn't. Joe Biden did, because it's part of their agenda. And I'll explain that in a second. But why did he get booed during the Super Bowl? Well, because anytime he's on television, just give it a few seconds, he's lying about something. And what he misinformed us about was he started talking about masks and COVID numbers and just a few of the things he said right off the bat were not truthful and just a part of the madness that is going on right now. So people are booing, you know, we're done with this. There's an awakening society. Right now, we're experiencing a rift. There's a split in society, and it might be neck and neck. It was thought to be that the vast majority of people are completely indoctrinated. They cannot reason. When you try to talk to people about vaccines, about masks, they cannot think. They are so programmed. They do not have the capability of logic and reason. They just pro-vaccine, pro-masks, they're programmed. And then you have, you know, another half of the society. And yes, some of them are Trump supporters, some of them are God knows whoever, but a lot of them are just the thinking half of society that are not indoctrinated, and they know something's wrong and the things that they're being told are not true. And they know that all of this is part of an agenda. It's not right. Those that are still able to think clearly know that this vaccine agenda, this vaccine mask obsession, something is off. Something's not right. So when figureheads like Biden keep coming with this, you know, in March, we were listening. In April, everyone was listening. But at this point, it's like, okay, we know. A lot of people who are not indoctrinated, because many people are, a lot of people who are awake are hip to what's going on. And it's like, okay, enough. And the new rules that they're trying to come out with and the new suggestions trying to tell you to wear 2-3 masks, they're just very, very stupid. If you want to believe them, go right ahead.
Now, welcome to the new world in America, where to get on a bus, to go through a subway station, if you think that the procedures at the TSA are onerous, right? Guess this is coming to a bus depot near you. It's a more invasive way, and the ruling class needs this because, let me say, if the ruling class ever saw wide-scale civil unrest, you'd see an Ebola outbreak in America. The point is to get hundreds of thousands of people infected with it and create the next phase of control. Now, one of the things I'd like to show to back up my my claims here, here's a document from the Rockefeller Foundation. Rockefeller Foundation, right there. You can zoom in on that, where my finger is. It's called Scenarios for the Future International Development, the Rockefeller Foundation. All right. Okay. Let's take a look at what they're saying here. Okay, the pandemic also had a deadly effect on economics. International mobility of both people and goods screeched to a halt, which is what they want. They want a completely isolated world, right? Debilitating industries like tourism and breaking global supply chains. Well, of course they want tourism stopped because they're not in the tourism business, and they want you at home in your house in front of the TV. Then they got you, because once you watch the TV, they own your soul. During the pandemic, national leaders around the world flexed their muscles, flexed their authority, and imposed airtight rules and restrictions. You can see the agenda.
Go.
Okay. From the mandatory wearing of face masks, from the mandatory wearing of face masks, from the mandatory wearing of face masks, to body temperature checks at the entries to communal spaces like
that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, but soon it's going to be like body, you know.
It'll be at the subway?
Yeah.
Well, is that what you're saying? We'll be going through this in the sub to get on the buses and the subway?
Absolutely.
Things
positively.
Like that?
And what this means, though, is, you know, don't think about having a cigarette, a joint on you, or, you know, I mean, basically, you can't. This is a dragnet for everything. So if in order for you
in other words, just like with stop and frisk, this is ultimate stop and frisk.
This is the ultimate cavity stop and frisk, cavity search kind of thing. All right, so during the pandemic, national leaders around the world flex their authority. You know, they're now there's some good stuff. Listen to this. And even supermarkets, they want body checks at supermarkets. Okay, so basically what they're saying is they're building a system where every move you make, you got to go through them.
You can't get food. What happened if you go to the farmer's market?
Right. Here's the good stuff now. I mean, it just keeps getting better. Even after the pandemic faded, this more authoritarian control and oversight of citizens and their activities stuck.
But anyway, during the Super Bowl, what was Biden disingenuous about? Just this whole thing that we're living through right now. Yeah, he said 440,000 people died of COVID, and, let's give a moment of silence. And, the boos started because those who know what's really going on know that 440,000 people did not die of COVID. According to the CDC, 94% of those said to have died with COVID did not die of COVID at all. They died of other things. And they've been strategically linking everything to COVID. Yes, some people died of the virus, but the numbers are not correct, and they've been inflating the numbers since March. And the flu completely disappeared, by the way, and the excuse that they made for that was that due to the masks and the lockdowns, the flu is down. COVID is up. Kind of took the place of the flu. Like, whoa, this is the magic. Anyway, the main thing is 440,000 people most probably did not die from COVID. Like I said, how that works, most of the people who are listed as COVID deaths are not COVID deaths. They're actually people who died of cancer, hypertension, you name it, all these other diseases. And they're simply saying that COVID caused complications that led to their death. So COVID was an agent in their escalating their deaths, is what they're saying. But that is also very, very sketchy, dubious when it comes to a lot of those kinds of cases, because a lot of them re-examined, it was discovered, hey, this is not legit. All of them, no, but a lot of them were slipped in with the others, and it was clear to see. And people have made the case that that is not true either, because there are people who died due to very specific things. Unfortunate, but normal for that particular ailment. And then a lot of these people were tested post-mortem, and then, they got COVID. So they just started to list all those other deaths as complications with COVID or death with COVID. And so they inflated all these numbers. And the reason why they have to inflate the numbers is because they have to keep it in this fake, they have to keep it in pandemic stage. So not saying COVID is fake, okay? It's not a hoax. Not saying that, because you have to be very careful, because the normies lose it. When you start telling them things, real things, the mind control mechanisms kick in and they're ready to, We know and understand people have died from this thing we call COVID. We know that. People like myself are not out here disputing that or calling things a hoax. We understand what's going on. But two things can be true at the same time. They're exploiting the virus. They're exploiting this virus, and they're inflating the numbers to keep the fear going, to keep it at pandemic stage, so that they can unconstitutionally keep doing all these things and suggesting lockdowns, and you walk around with a face mask and all the stuff that is completely illogical seems logical when there's a pandemic. And this is part of the reason why Biden got booed, because he's coming with all that stuff, the masks, and, the reality of his popularity is that, COVID aside, is that nobody liked Joe Biden. This is a get rid of Trump president and a selected president. And the transgender stuff, I'll get to that in another video, maybe on the main channel, to talk about. It's more of a serious thing, and it's more in the realm of conspiracy. But there's a transhumanism agenda. There's been this agenda to push sexual confusion for a long time, and it's been something. It's in books. It's been known, but never so around the corner as now. Now is a very climactic time where they're trying all their moves now. It's very, very interesting times that we live in. But the trans community might be under the delusion that, they care about them, when no, they don't care about you. They're following an agenda. And part of the agenda is the sexual confusion that they're trying to push and normalize. And again, it's not popular. People don't want this. And Joe Biden's pushing it. And they're starting to realize, they're starting to have a little bit of buyer's remorse. Like, what did we actually do here? Yeah. And what else happened? Gina Carano's firing from The Mandalorian. I am a Star Wars nerd. I'm a Star Wars fan. And this is indicative of the times that we live in. The very blatant and obvious thought control, mind control, social conditioning. We're trying to punish thoughts that we don't want. You don't have to agree with Gina Carano. Your politics don't have to align with hers. But when we're at the point where we're firing people from jobs and, their work on television series because of their views, things that they believe or things that they said, you're seeing the social engineering agenda play right out, and the use of social media to do that. And what she said was something that a lot of people may not agree with, but I understand what she was saying loud and clear, and she was actually correct. The greater point that she was saying was that, like what happened in Nazi Germany, the people get turned on the people. So she wasn't really making a direct comparison. She was just saying that this is how it starts. This is how, the powers that be propagandize the people and turn you against people. And we've seen this in Nazi Germany. That was a sound point. That was actually true. She was correct. Gina Carano was correct, and Disney fired her for that correct assessment. Like I said, I would dial back on the comparisons. A lot of people have done this with slavery, and it's just a bad idea to compare something to another tragic event in history, because nothing compares to slavery. You just got to leave that one alone. Slavery is one of the most horrific, evil transgressions of history. And when you make a comparison, trying to make the point that something's bad, you might want to leave the really bad things alone, because it's going to be missed. Someone's going to get triggered. We have a super sensitive environment that we live in right now. Ben Carson tried this with slavery once, and it actually made him look very, very foolish, especially as a Black American. So not always a good idea. So I would leave those things alone. But her point was, everyone's so soft right now. I got what she said. I got what she meant. And it wasn't deserving of this huge hoopla and this firing and this, but like I said, if you understand the agenda that they're trying to do, thought control, all these things that, people spoke about, we're right in the thick of it. Social engineering time, and society has never been as fake. We are the fakest. Actually, let me pull that back. It's not so much that we're the fakest now. We are just in a time where the curtains are being pulled back. Those of you who have eyes to see, you can see the fakeness. And then you have other people who are still asleep. The majority of society who are still asleep, and they don't want to wake up. And so when you speak the truth, It irritates them. Trust me, I deal with this. They don't want to break the mind control. They go back to sleep and, they want to believe that I'm wrong, but it scares the hell out of them to know in their subconscious thought that everything I'm saying is true, and they don't like it. What else is going on? Asian attacks. Speaking of fakeness, that's not real. You're seeing how people move. And when people want to get something done politically, they create propaganda and they put it out there. There's no one specifically targeting Asians, but, that belief is being pumped out there because there's an end game. And as we speak, laws are being passed, money is being allocated, and that was the end goal. That's the Hegelian dialectic. Create the problem, instigate the reaction, and then boom, you provide the solution that was already there. Nonsense. What else happened? Mr. Herschel Walker and his reparations speech. What an embarrassing disgrace. And look, I have lots of different people that watch my videos, and they're all different types of people. Some of a lot of them are white conservatives. A lot of them are, pro-black, black people. There's a mix of everyone. But I'm talking to all of you. You have to understand how this country operates. And we are a melting pot of different people. And people outside of Herschel Walker's group are applauding him and pumping him up for that. But what he did was truly reprehensible. It's embarrassing. He's a clown. Now, to the white conservatives listening to me, listen. Be honest, be real. This is a channel for truth. So let's respect the truth and be honest. That man was debasing himself. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed, and he didn't understand half of what he was reading. He didn't know what he was talking about. And he was babbling and stuttering white supremacist talking points that he was given. He did not know what he was saying. He brought in the old Africans sold their own into slavery shtick. That is a revisionist lie. Did that happen? Yes. Small scale. Very, very small scale. That's not how the majority of slaves ended up here. That is not the narrative. They revised history to kind of put focus on that. Like, that's how all the slaves got there. There's a very small number. And of that very small number, they didn't know what they were doing. They had a different psychology behind servitude. Not slavery like American slavery. They had a different psychology behind servitude, where a man could even buy himself out of that servitude. Things happened in war where you were a slave, but it didn't mean the same thing as American slavery. And they didn't understand that. And they were bribed. And in ignorance, a lot of this happened. Not a lot of it, but it happened. But like I said, it's such a small part of history and in few instances of that. But what, our history books are trying to do is go back and kind of highlight that and try to make that more prevalent than it actually was. And then it became another white supremacist talking point to kind of scapegoat the real deal. And it's kind of, very satanic minded and evil. And it's just like piggybacking the transgression of slavery in a new generation. Okay, the ancestors did this, and instead of just, creating a new day, we're going to build on that legacy by lying and being disgusting about it, adding to the legacy of evil instead of changing it. And they know it's lies, not the common people, not the people, but the people at the top. They know it's lies and historical revisionism. So they're not going to go out there and say it themselves because it's going to get attacked and maligned. They'll prop up a black sellout to get up there and sell himself out. so that they don't have to do the dirty work themselves. That trick is as old as God knows what, and they've been doing that for decades, and they're not going to stop doing that. Your Larry Elders and your Candace Owens, they're the more intelligent and the more articulate stooge. But, you know, there is no honor in a black person getting out there in public, speaking out against reparations. Even if you're a black person that doesn't agree with reparations, I'm not sure exactly what the argument would be to disagree with reparations after 400 years of slavery, and they give reparations for every world tragedy. They give reparations to the Jews, they give reparations to the Native Americans, they give reparations to the Japanese from Hiroshima. Everybody gets reparations except black Americans. So the argument against reparations, even if you disagreed, it's fair enough. There's a lot of interesting people out there that just have interesting views, you know, who knows where they come from. But if you are a black person and for whatever reason you're like, darn it, those reparations, you don't like it, that's just how you feel. But to prop yourself up, or to allow them, I should say, to prop you up to speak out against reparations, knowing that even if you don't agree, there are thousands of black Americans who do agree with reparations, and you're standing in their way of what should be done in principle. To be honest, in principle, it should be done. It's really dastardly. It's shameful. It's shameful. And you have some of these same people invoking Martin Luther King, and they're really embarrassing themselves in the grand scheme of things. Just sit down. Get out of the argument. Get out of the discussion. If you don't agree with it, stay out of the conversation. But they're still using these tired, lame tricks and schemes that just won't work anymore. In the new world, the people are waking up on so many different issues and topics fast that these kind of shenanigans just are not holding up anymore. People see right through it. With your, you know, the better version of this, like your Larry Elders and your Candace Owens, how that trick works is that you have these very articulate people in blackface speak truth, make sense, just have very sound arguments, but then they just kind of fuse in their nonsense and the white supremacist talking points. Just fuse it in there with the truth. So the average person that doesn't know any better thinks that, wow, this is good stuff. Listen to her, listen to him. When no, they're debasing themselves just on a higher level. But anyway, moving along, what else is going on in the news? Sexual assault, Me Too is back. They're coming after Cuomo. I'm not sure what he did, but he's having a rough time. They got him for the nursing home thing. Now he's got multiple accusers now. It's nonsense, just to be honest. You know, I'm consistent. But you know what? I don't like him as governor, and he was really pulling all these agendas and the COVID agendas, and you know, even people who I know were so Democratic, they loved him, and they just, you know, they're just caught up in the political nonsense. They're never going to wake up. They just don't know what's going on. So I don't trouble these people. I leave them alone. But he's coming down. You know, people are starting to understand, not everybody, but some people are starting to understand that all these guys are liars on the national stage. Politicians, you either corrupt or you got corrupt in office, but you don't get to these positions if you don't know how to play the game. If you don't know how to, you know, make covert deals, fulfill agendas under the table, you have to be a liar. And these guys are smooth. Some of them are not as smooth. He's one of your smoother politicians groomed for the job. And, you know, this is not surprising to me that, things are coming out about him in the nursing home thing. The allegation's a little weak, but he's apologizing because he knows that, he's saying stuff that, he did make people feel uncomfortable. So, it is what it is. But Me Too is not a good thing. It's not a good thing. It's become a wrecking ball. It's become a weapon. And that's what we're seeing here. Some of the attacked, it's true. Some of the allegations are true, but a lot of them are not true. A lot of them are money grabs, like the case of T.I. It's become so easy to dogpile with other women, pointing a finger, and then it's an easy shakedown. Whether he's guilty or not, in the eye of the public, he's done. The guy who has the finger pointed at him, he's screwed. So he's got to shell out all this money towards his defense, towards this, towards that. It is a hustle. It is a shakedown, and it's gotten out of control. T.I. and Tiny, word on the street, I've heard things in their favor. I've heard things against them. I kind of think that this is a shakedown, but, I don't believe in this sort of thing, that this monster that was created where, you can sit there and, like you're dumb, you're stupid and defenseless and you don't know, and you're just this victim, and, someone could have made you feel uncomfortable, and you sit there and all of a sudden 20 years later or whatever, you can just come, he did this to me, he did that to me. And I'm just not on board with this sort of thing. I saw the problems way back with the Cosby case, and, this is our norm now. People can just say, oh, he did this, he did that, and collect the check. But now there is a criminal investigation launched on him, so he's kind of having trouble right now. So sucks for him. Lastly, Mr. Potato Head. So he's now gender fluid. So there's no more Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head or something to that effect. All a part of the gender confusion agenda. They're really pushing this. The Democrats, they're pushing this gender thing, and it's not popular. That's how you know it's an agenda. It's being forced. The people are not asking for this. The people don't want this. This is social engineering. They are forcing this. And, you're going to see a little bit of a pushback on this sort of thing, but it's not transphobia. They're going to keep labeling and shaming because they're trying to control your mind with all this nonsense. And, when you're in the occult world and you understand what these people in cabals are doing and what they're trying to achieve, it'll blow your mind. And the bleeding heart liberals that, applaud all this stuff, they have no clue what's really going on. They have no clue about the secret societies or occult activity. They don't know anything. They just, they just want they're fighting every social justice issue, and, they want everybody to feel comfortable, and they become the useful idiots when they just accept the agendas. But this is being forced. Nobody's asking for this. Biden's decision to let trans athletes compete with biological women. Nobody wants this. Nobody's asking for this. They're forcing this at us. So, yep, we're going to deal with this for a while. And lastly, the vaccine. I've talked about this, and I'm at the point where you just got to let people do what they want to do. It's pretty damn obvious what's going on, what they're trying to do. They're lying about everything. They're censoring the internet. They're blocking the people from seeing real information about real efficacy on masks, vaccines. You're seeing just something I've never witnessed before. And the mind of the masses is gone. they are all on board with whatever the government tells them to do. And it's just, like I said, I've talked about this ad nauseum. Those who know what's going on know what's going on, and those who don't never will. So I'm not going to just going to leave it alone. So yeah, guys, I wanted to jump in and just, go over a few topics and put my 2 cents on a few topics, because I know some of you hit me privately because, it's hard for a lot of people. A lot of people are in families where you can't talk about things and be real because they don't know what's going on. They don't know that they don't know what's going on. And they're pushing all these things at you, or they're smothering you from speaking freely about certain issues. And it's very frustrating. And trust me, I deal with that to a certain extent on my own. And I totally understand. But now is the time where you're going to have to just know what's going on, protect yourself, make smart decisions, stay away from what, the government and, the powers that be are trying to force. They're trying to, the newest thing one of the things that they're trying to do is to make your vaccine status something you need, like your driver's license. On planes, on buses, on just to travel around, you're gonna need your driver's license, and your vaccine card, which will eventually become something else. But I actually don't think they're successful. I don't think it's going the way they want. I think their numbers are low. The turnout for the vaccines are low. They're doing something that is called fake or artificial demand. They do this with business. You ever see people online waiting for sneakers, PlayStation, whatever, Xboxes. Businesses do this all the time. And it's a psychological trick. It's a strategy to create the illusion of scarcity, to psychologically dupe people into artificially creating the demand. When you make something scarce or make believe something is scarce, it increases the demand. And that's what they're doing with the vaccine. You know what? A lot of clear thinking, reasonable people did not want to get this vaccine. It was rushed out. There was a lot of side effects and deaths that the media did a good job hiding. And there was no good reason to be trusting those drug companies. So a lot of clear thinking people who were not under the mind control were not interested. But there's so many people who do, of the normies. They want to run out and get this vaccine. And if they want, and they should be able to if they want to, but they created this artificial demand. You got to go online and you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to wait. There's people reporting problems with getting the vaccine because that's what they're doing. It is a business, because they don't care about the normies that want to run out and get the vaccine. They know they got them already. They're trying to get all the people on the fence. They're trying to get all the people in the middle. And they're trying to do that via psychological stratagem, create the scarcity of demand, make it difficult, few supplies, and this will increase demand. I don't know if it's working, but that's the playbook. And you got to be safe out there, guys. You got to be strong. The environment has become more indoctrinated than I've ever seen in my entire life. It's shocking, almost to the point where you can't have open conversations with just anyone. I got to check you out. I got to know what you feel about a few things first, before I am comfortable even talking to you, because we don't know where people's minds are right now. The mind control is so powerful, and the tricks and the schemes and the social engineering is so advanced right now. It's so high level. And it's not a case of people being stupid, and I don't want to come off like I'm coming off like that. It's not a case of, people being dumb or anything like that. It's a case of if you don't know what's going on and you've never educated yourself you've never informed yourself about how the world really works, these think tanks that exist that most people have no idea exist, what the elites are trying to do, their 10-year, 20-year, 30-year plans. If you've never exposed yourself to this sort of thing, then you're going to be a victim of it. It's really that simple. So when they roll out these things and, I can see, oh, yep, there they go. They're doing this. Yep, they're doing that. Yep. And this stuff is published information. People trying to tell us this stuff. The vast majority of people, they don't get it because they can't grasp the concept of the level of evil, the level of corruption. All they've done is listen to mainstream media news and, kept themselves in a little bubble. So what's happening now is just way over people's heads, and you just got to let people be, let them run out and get the vaccine and pray that they're safe, pray that there's no adverse reaction, pray that there's no deaths, and, just let people live their lives and make their own decisions. Just, the best thing that you can do is just plant seeds and provide information. More likely than not, they will reject the information all the time. People don't like the truth. They hate it. And I've seen it because it happened to me. They patronize you. That's interesting what you said. And you're right about X, Y, and Z. But they give you the buts and the however. It was as if they actually illuminated you. And subconsciously, they know they did not. The truth is, it's still there. Like, you did not match what I said to you. And it's because they, people want to believe what they want to believe. We're in a very socially engineered time where people are locked into their belief sets and they don't want to change their mind. They don't want to believe that they may be wrong about anything. All the experts are saying this and the government's saying this, and that's where they're going. So at any rate, guys, like I said, I got work to do. I will be back on both channels, on my main channels, with a very big video that's coming out when I'm done with all the music and a little bit of traveling that I got to do. When I'm done with all that stuff, I'm going to make, a really strong video like I used to do. But for now, I'm getting back to work, and I'm here, like I said, on Twitter, on Instagram, and Facebook every day. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to those channels, and I will see you in the next video, guys. Take care.